My question is kind of back to the mixing side. And it's kind of a detailed question, I guess, but what is your general process for mixing vocals? I know it may change from project to project, but do you do a lot of layering? Do you use like multiple reverbs? Do you comp down to like the syllable like some people do? What is your whole kind of process for that?
Well, let's see. Let's start with sort of the beginning of your question. The things that I always do when I'm mixing is I will EQ and compress and DS, you know. I don't try to over EQ. I mean, you have to have a well-recorded vocal, but try not to over EQ. Try to be really subtle with the EQ. Try and choose a compressor that accentuates the voice. And I don't know if I'm really giving you anything that's to go on. I use multiple delays and multiple reverbs, so that like a very short delay, like a slap delay, so that something that's kind of always there and gives it the vocal a little bit of presence all the time, and then longer delays that you can push up in choruses or more dramatic open spaces in the song. A short reverb and long reverb, basically for the same reasons. And just so I have those things set up, I always have 2 delays and 2 reverbs set up. And then there's, I usually do a micro pitch shift, which also has a little bit of like early reflection type of delay in it. And the micro pitch shift is -5 on my 5 cents and plus 5 cents. And
so you're panning that?
Panning that, varying the width. I run a vocal through also a Dolby channel, Dolby A. Which is a very, so in the encoded sound of Dolby is very hyped and high frequency. It's like it's a frequency expansion unit, basically, to get noise reduction on tape. But if you have encoded Dolby, you kind of blend underneath. You can use an oral exciter for the same thing. Kind of, just kind of push it in underneath. What else do I do? Don't use too high of a compression ratio, you want, mixing is about moving volumes. So, a lot of people these days really slam stuff with compression and everything kind of sits dynamically in the same place. That's not mixing. I don't know what you call that, but mixing is like, moving stuff around, turning stuff up and down when it should be. In terms of comping, I'll do whatever it takes. If I have to make somebody sing something 200 times, I will. You have to. It's a very patient and nurturing process to do that. I'll take one take from somebody, or I'll do it syllable by syllable. You just have to do whatever it takes. To make you being good at vocals is a really important thing. And so just do whatever you feel like is necessary, but you got to respect the song, and you got to understand that when someone sings a song over the top of a rhythm track, that's what's most important. So the rhythm track has to feel like that they're really working together. And I'll move stuff around if the time doesn't feel good. I tune stuff. It's just be kind of mercenary about it, but you kind of need to be a ninja too. Just try not to leave any tracks. Right. Most people don't think that I tune, or you can't really detect tuning on my records, but I do it.
Right. And that works okay with your pitch shift too. Your detuning.
Yep. Yeah. And I don't layer vocals a lot. I just don't seem to make those kind of records. At least in the lead vocal department. So.
Thanks.
Yeah, sure.
A couple more. You guys, you want to get in line? If they're short, we got 3 more. If they're long, we have 2 more.
I'm Webster Patterson, AET major. You worked with Switchfoot and Mute Matt. What albums did you work on them with, and like how much programming did you put into it, and like how hard was the post-production, especially for like Mute Matt?
Yeah, I want to know how those drums were done on the Mute Matt.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was.
Well, Switchfoot, I made the Learning to Breathe record. Okay. So I produced half of that record, mixed the majority of it. There was a little bit of programming. The Mute Math stuff, those guys do most of that stuff. And when the Mute Math, I mixed their EP, and their first full-length record. The EP was primarily done before I was involved, and I didn't do any programming on that. It was pretty much just a mix thing. But on the first full-length, I actually started mixing and participating once they kind of had wrapped up pre-production. Their process is sort of very elongated and multifaceted, and they sort of revisit things a lot. So I would start mixing songs as they were basically getting them together, and kind of revisit it and update stuff and help them kind of get it together.
How many effects did you end up using for like post-production stuff on some of their stuff? Was it kind of massive, or was it like not that much?
I use a lot of effects. I mean, I do. I mean, you wouldn't think so, but I do. I nearly put a delay on everything, and it's you know, it's really about not necessarily creating something that's like definitely like audible, like rhythmically, or you know, it's like clearly a delay, but it's about creating space. You know, that's something you should learn to play around with. You'd be surprised, like on a guitar, you know, I usually pan instruments pretty hard left and right, but I'll put a delay. You know, if a guitar is, you know, at 3 o'clock, I'll put a delay on it, you know, over at 10 or not, you know, 10 o'clock, and you know, I'll play around with the tempo of it, because it makes things. You'd be surprised how much it makes things pop out, and you don't even really hear the delay. It just creates space.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
So time for one more, and then after this question, we'll give Jacquire a hand, and for those of you guys that want to come up and meet him, well, you guys can do that. Make sure you get your card scanned. I'll be over here to scan some cards. And last question.
All right, my name's Alex. I'm a teenager also. Is there any one like technique or piece of knowledge that you had that has really like helped you come through, that you use all the time, whether it's with mixing or EQ or just knowledge of gear that you're using, microphones, anything like that? Anything that's like kind of like just really helped you a lot? Or
Well,
that you use the
like
most?
one simple thing. I mean, I don't really know one. I mean, did you have another part of the question?
No.
I mean, one thing that one concept that I put together in my head a long time ago, and that I will tell people, is that, you know, this really is simple. If you think about it, the simpler you make it, the better. So there's three elements in what we do, just like sort of technically. You have transducers, which are microphones and speakers. So you know, one captures an acoustic event and turns it into an electric signal, a current, and then the other, you know, recreates it in an acoustic environment. So one interprets and one, you know, translates. And then you have amplifiers. You know, you have gain stages, and that covers everything: EQs, compressors, any sort of to do things frequency-wise. And so if you start to think about things like that in a really simple way, it's just like you can use it in a lot of very complicated ways. And so that would be what I could say to you. It's simple.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, don't, you know, overload him here, but about 15 minutes. I told him I'd get him out of here by 7:45. Meet and greet at 7:30 now, but let's give Jacquire a big hand. Thank you.